Hey, everybody, welcome on back. It's the You Gotta Try This podcast with Large. As always, I have Ian behind the ones and twos. The only reason I'm able to do this thing is because Ian is getting better and better at producing as we go along. I'm appreciative of everybody who listens or watches this show. Please don't think that I'm not. I really appreciate you guys letting me do this because it's a lifelong dream to talk about food and drink and anything that you put in your mouth. And today's edition is going to be about cigars. If you're liking the experience so far, I'll say it at the end of the show also, like and subscribe, drop a comment whenever you give a 5-star review, and we'll try to get that comment should contain some sort of question for me. I will answer that question, and then we'll just have some fun with this whole goddamn. Why don't we start with the questions then? Ian, let's just get into questions. Do we have any kind of questions off of another stellar 5-star review?
We're running a little bit low on questions, so I'll pull a question from a 5-star review.
Got it.
Amazing new venture by Large. This is by TJ, by the way.
TJ, thank you.
TJ, thank you for the 5-star review, Apple Podcasts. Amazing new venture by Large. Large needs to come to Philly. It's a sleeper food city. Large has been to Philly, by the way. He has a couple places which he'll mention.
Of course, yeah.
But my question that I think Large can answer here is what are the top 3 sleeper food cities in the United States?
In the United States, I don't know if I'm going to give you 3. It's always tough for me to do top 3s. Let's go. First of all, thank you very much for your love.
Or let's talk about the fact that he's calling Philly a sleeper food city.
I love that. But the thing is, that is perfect Philly, right? Like Philly, for some reason, has that, not a complex, because I think that rings unfair, but New York gets all the fucking shine. Philly is a great food town. Honestly, I think that it's a great food city. So, and I think that's the point that Ian's trying to make too. Shit's not a sleeper at all. And it's so much more beyond fucking water ices and fucking cheesesteaks at Angelo's. John Kelly, my producer at Twisted History, hit me today saying that Angelo's, the neighbors are complaining because people like me, they say fat, bald people who are wannabe influencers, I didn't say that specifically, sit on cars and porches and all this stuff nearby. They nail down their cheesesteaks and the pizza, which is elite at Angelo's too, and then kind of leave their shit around. Tighten up, everybody. Everybody who visits fucking Angelo's, tighten up. Keep your mouth shut, clean up after yourselves, and stay quiet. Do not ruin that good thing because it's an institution that I never want to see go away. But if you scratch the surface beyond that in Philly, elite food town. And I'm telling you, if you want to call that one of the sleepers, God bless you. I'll agree with you 100% because a lot of people, particularly on the West Coast, don't consider Philly. Like we're a little bit myopic too. Like I know how good Philly is of a food. If you were going to tell me that Boston's a better food town than Philly, I have a problem with that. I do. I have a problem. I think Philly is great. So that's me glazing Philly for a little bit. But go ahead.
And if you're interested in our Philly videos, we went to Tommy DeNick's. We've done.
Yeah, we did the one inside the terminal market. And again, I've only scratched the surface. I will go deep with Roan or something like that. That's my first mention of Roan in this podcast. I have 2 that I have to do. But I'll go with one of those guys that I love from Philly and we'll go deep into the catalog there.
Yeah, and Federal Donuts and chicken.
All right, we did the Federal Donuts. They did the steamed egg with the chicken sandwich. Yeah, we in here. I will tell you, internationally, people think that Irish people are the worst cooks in the world. I can't argue with you sometimes because my parents are such old school Irish people that when I visited Ireland with my parents as a kid, I'd have like an old aunt. I'd get to their house and she'd fry me a pork chop. Salt and pepper fried up in a pan. And I was like, man, this is one of the best things I've ever had. You know, that's one of those things I want to get back because my aunt has passed away. But there is a town in Ireland called Kinsale. I think it's the culinary capital of Ireland, which you may think means like tallest midget in the circus. It's not. Kinsale is elite. One of the things that they do is you eat fish over there and you're like, wow, there's a freshness to this, a crispness almost to this. And it's because they're just pulling them out of the Irish Sea and putting them right onto your plate. Here in the US, I was pleasantly surprised once I got outside of Nashville, outside of the hot chicken stuff, which, you know, I'm not a big fan of, just how much Nashville had to offer from an international standpoint. And listen, go the traditional route while you're in Nashville and go to Peg Leg Porker. They get the wings at Peg Leg Porker is one of my favorite dishes whenever I'm in Nashville. But I think Nashville, on top of being a great party town, and go visit the Barstool Bar there and all that kind of bullshit, and go get drunk on Broadway and getting one of those. That's a phenomenon in Nashville that I want to talk about. It's a big bachelor party place, Nashville. And so what the bachelor parties do is they get on these tractors that pull around these platforms, and they're party platforms, and they go all around Nashville. And it's all these bachelorette parties, and there's the one bride-to-be sash. But if you notice, please point this out to your friends next time you're in Nashville. The bachelorette parties that get the early tractor rides, like, during the thing, are not the best looking girls. The hotter the girls, the later the tractor rides. Because sometimes when they're going around with the bachelorette parties later at night on those tractors, there are some stunning beauties. So Nashville's one. I used to do the Cleveland Traders every year. I used to speak at Cleveland Traders Conference. Shout out Rob Israel. He's one of the guys that I used to tear it up with out there. Cleveland, a couple of Michael Simon joints. I think Lola might have closed down. I had a pig's ear salad at either Lola or Lolita in Cleveland, which is a Michael Simon joint. And it's also an elite dish that I wish I could get back. So Cleveland, Nashville, I don't know what other town. There's so many goddamn towns. So let me put one that's not on the list and never will be. Talladega. Holy shit. That is an absolute wasteland. So I'm going to give you 1 international and 2 domestic. If you get yourself to Kinsale, you're going to feel differently about Irish cooking for the rest of your life. And Cleveland and Nashville, probably more so Cleveland is a surprise to people, but go to Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and get around there to all the places, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. That's probably fair to say. It's a good answer for that. That's a great question. That is a very good question, so I'm glad that he sent them in. What's one of the other things? You wanted me to talk to me about something.
So food content's becoming very popular at Barstool as of late. I wonder what has sparked that.
Oh, you think it's us?
Maybe.
Okay. They say, and what Ian is saying is that I think a lot of people will say if these 2 idiots can do it, anyone can do it. But go ahead. What's going on?
So a lot of food questions or topics have been floating around the Barstool universe.
Yes.
This most recent one from a new show from our new talent, Ray, called Mocked Up, a show about mostly mocktails and her life.
Okay.
They were talking condiments. So
Ray is one of our newest employees, as Ian is saying. Beautiful young girl, talented, funny, the whole deal. I don't know. Does she do the show with Mubi and with Kelly?
The Mocked Up is by herself. That's a solo show.
Understood.
And her producer, editor, everything person, Julia.
Okay, Julie's involved with that. And then there's Fishbowl thing that Mubi and those girls do. Sometimes I don't have my arms around everything that is happening at Barstool, but
and then there's In the Slot, which
that's what I'm thinking about.
That's Ray, Mubi, and Smelly.
Got it. Yeah. And Mubi and Smelly are awesome. Smelly actually her family is good friends with a family that I used to work with, the Dumfies, a very nice girl. And Mubi is always extremely gracious because my daughter's a huge fan. So good girls.
We're going to have to get her in here to talk chicken Caesar salads.
That's the thing that she's fucking famous about. Like she says it with a little funny voice, like chicken Caesar. And I don't know. I just like her. I think they're good.
Anyways, I bring this up to say they put out a clip, the top 3 condiments, which I'll play now.
Okay, I have not seen yet.
Top 3 condiments? Let's rip it. First, honey mustard. Yo, funnel that in my ass. Okay? 100%. But it has to be like the right one. Like if it's like that grainy kind, it has to taste right. Because sometimes it could taste a little too Dijon-y.
Yeah, no, you can't have all that Dijon.
I don't do the Dijon. No Dijon over here.
Okay, number 2.
Barbecue sauce.
Fair.
Barbecue sauce. Fuck yes. I love a good BBQ. Oh my God. I need to go to, where do they have good BBQ? Texas?
Yeah.
Is that where they have the rodeo?
Anywhere in the South, yeah.
Oh my God. Spicy barbecue though? Then we're kind of pushing it. You know what I love? Sour cream.
Is sour cream a condiment though?
Yeah, 100%. You get a side of it. Speaking of I want that shit right after I get off this fucking camera. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my
God.
God.
Have you ever dipped sour cream with chips? Just straight up.
Sour cream with chips?
Like a Lay's?
I've done everything with sour cream.
So these are 2 different shows, right? The stuff that the girls are doing is fantastic. This show is a little bit more, you couldn't pick 2 more different palettes than myself and Ray. So I'll take a poke at it if you don't mind. I'll do my top 3 condiments. We don't judge anybody. If you're a big fan and you want honey mustard funneled into your ass, I think that's great. As a matter of fact, there's a tab on Pornhub for that. I'd come across it the other day, and it's actually kind of interesting. But I think she had said honey mustard, barbecue sauce, and then sour cream. Sour cream is a sneaky great fucking condiment. Kudos to her. You give me a pierogi and you give me a little thing of sour cream on the side or a potato pancake, sign me up. When Patty had ordered his baked potato down in Alabama last week, they were like sour cream or butter, and he said yes. So sour cream and butter inside of a potato, like all that stuff. So we're not judging here, but let me take a swipe at this. So top 3 condiments. That's a tough one too. So we just did. You put me on the spot with the cities. By the way, we have to start talking about these before we get in here. But I think I did a good job. My top 3 condiments. It's tough. I won't go too deep into the bushes and start saying like Ivar. It's a pepper blend and stuff. But I'm a condiment guy. I am a condiment guy. And when I think of condiments, let's do one that I think can go at every meal. Like it's almost something that if it wasn't on this earth, I would be unhappy. And that's got to be something extremely traditional. And it's just going to simply be hot sauce. If you want to ask me something more specifically, for me, it's like a Louisiana hot sauce. Trappies I buy Trappies by the gallon. I went to Empanada Mama a couple of years ago, and they gave me my empanadas with a little, shot glass full of what I thought was their homemade hot sauce because it just had that vinegary pop that I'm looking for. When I want heat, I can bring fucking heat, right? I can eat a lot of things that are going to hurt me twice, if you know what I mean. Once on the way in and even worse on the way out. But if I don't want that experience, if I just want something that's got a salty, vinegary pop, give me any type of Louisiana hot sauce. So Crystal, kind of even go down the Frank's route. I can put Frank's, their slogan is I put that shit on anything. And I kind of agree. I can put that stuff, particularly when something lacks flavor. Instead of loading it up with salt, I load it up with salt in the form of hot sauce. So I think I'm going to put hot sauce in there. This is in no particular order. And hot sauce, like I said, breakfast, lunch, and dinner if need be. The second one is going to be mustard. And you're going to say, what a basic bitch answer. It's not. And if you ask me what type of mustard, look in my fridge. I have toothpaste tubes full of German mustard. I have my Chinese mustard. I used to go and get my Dijon. I have my own crock. We used to go and get it filled up at this mustard place here in Manhattan, and you could fill up your crock of Dijon as it starts to run low. So I am a big time mustard guy, but gun to my head, and if I have to have one mustard, maybe for the rest of my life, which is a different question, you give me a good deli mustard, a good Jewish deli mustard, and I'm dipping pretzels. Obviously, I'm onto sandwiches with that. I'm almost eating it with a goddamn spoon, but with any kind of grilled sausages and grilled meat, I wind up putting mustard in most of my recipes. One of the things that I do every Christmas, spiral ham, homemade biscuits, pimento cheese, and I put out a couple of different mustards. One of my favorite mustards is Mr. Mustard. Mr. Mustard, which I think might be made in Paterson, New Jersey. And that one there is elite. I could talk about mustard for way too long, so I'm going to put mustard on second on the list. And then let's get a little weird on the third one. I want to put something there that maybe has, geez, I got so many goddamn condiments running through my mind. I don't know if Ray just know that she just put me in a pretzel. Now I'm thinking about pretzels. I'm thinking about mustards again. Why don't we go Alabama white sauce? Alabama white sauce, she'd gone barbecue sauce. I'm going to mix it up a little bit because I need something mayonnaise based in my condiments sometimes. And Alabama white sauce does the trick. I make my own. And it's mayonnaise, apple cider vinegar, a bunch of things. I put some horseradish in there. Some people don't. It's got a ton of black pepper. And it's just, everybody has different barbecue sauces. So Alabama's barbecue sauce is called Alabama white sauce, as opposed to the vinegary ones that you'll find here, the ketchup-based ones you find here, the mustard-based ones you find in like Kansas City. So all of those are great, but Alabama white sauce on any type of, maybe even a lighter protein like a grilled chicken or something like that, but also put it on your wife. It's that good. The one that I make, I have, and I keep in a bottle, and the bottle says Old Racist on it. And the reason I say that is because I don't know where the idea came up, but the South does have that, thing to it. So maybe there was a guy who's like, I love barbecue sauce. I just need to have something a little bit more white. I don't know if that's what happened, Ian, but either way, Alabama white sauce is going to be my number 3 for that. And so that's hot sauce, Louisiana hot sauce. I'll go with the good deli mustard, and I'll go with the Alabama white. And that's my list of my top 3 condiments. What else do we have? Let's talk about who we're going to have in. So what we want to do here, when we go to restaurants, I think sometimes we rely on the virality of the restaurant to get us some clicks. Like when I went to Fort Charles with Gaz, I knew that would rip because so many people want to go to Fort Charles and so many people have interest about it. Even people who have been there want to see how other people had their experience. But it's those mom and pops, those smaller places that I'm going to try to do more. That really is where the juice is for me. And when you think about cigars, it's the same way. That's why I'm having this guy, Tom Grilli, in from NeverAsh. The way that we do this show is sometimes we'll do the interview before we'll do the intro just to find out what we have. Like, for example, some people really like the history segment that we're doing every week. I'm going to save the history segment for when Tom comes in, just because the history segment this week is going to be around cigars. So Tom's going to come in. He's going to go soup to nuts with us on cigars. We had to wait about 10 minutes after he left with the door open and the fan on just so you can see me again, because we're in a little bit of a hot box here. We're in one of the podcast things. You see how red my face is? I mean, obviously, I've been talking and smoking the whole time, so I feel very good. And they call this thing NeverAsh because for people who aren't familiar with cigars, you want to leave the ash long, and we'll get into that in a second. And sometimes when you leave your ash long, it inevitably will fall anywhere but an ashtray, as is evidenced by the giant pile of ash by where Tom was sitting just a couple of minutes ago. If you notice, I'm on this side of the podcast. I usually sit in that chair, but Tom, again, one of the nicest guys I've ever met, he's deaf in this ear. So I had to sit on the good ear side. I don't know if he wants people to know that, but I just fucking told you. So I think without further ado, let's get to the cigars. We're going to smoke some cigars. We're going to be gentlemen. Here it comes. Hey, everybody. So as promised on the You Gotta Try This podcast, we're going to try and talk about things that you put in your mouth. Like normally it's going to be just food and booze. Obviously, it's food and booze. That should be my two middle names, Michael Food Booze McCarthy. But one of the other things that I put in my mouth quite regularly are cigars. And one of my favorite cigars that I've been smoking as of late has been from a small company called NeverAsh. I don't even remember how I came across them, but now I know this guy. This is Tom Grilli. He's from NeverAsh. He just flew in from Chicago to come in and try to give my audience the ABCs of cigar smoking. I think it's out of the bad habits that people have. I think cigar smoking might be one of the lesser of those evils, as long as you don't do it often, right? Just like anything else, nothing in excess, and you should be okay. But as far as like cigarette smoke, the stuff that they put in cigarettes, you can't comprehend the amount of chemicals and whatnot that you put in cigarettes. And then obviously you're sucking that into your lungs where you're not inhaling with cigars. So, make up your own mind. This isn't saying, hey kids, go out there and grab yourself a cigar, but it is saying, if you're going to start smoking a cigar, if you want to learn how to do it correctly, come to Uncle Large and we're going to take care of you. Tom, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks
Talk to me about NeverAsh.
Yeah. So NeverAsh started, I would say, as a concept right after college. I started getting into cigars with my dad. We smoked a lot, and we had started just kind of smoking and growing the ash. And I take some pictures and have fun with it, send it to friends and family.
Right.
Got a big Italian family. So we do that. And then, over the years, people started kind of sending pictures back to me of their ashes and saying, hey, NeverAsh, NeverAsh. So
right.
Just really a catchphrase, kind of got into more cigars with that. And about 2018 was at a Christmas party with my now business partner, Steve Rotundi. Mm-hmm. And we're sitting in there having a bourbon, smoking a cigar, just showed him the ash and said, this is your next business idea, man, NeverAsh. Fast forward to the pandemic year, I started making some logos. And my idea is really to do T-shirts and hats and just kind of finally, create a brand, a little extra time during the pandemic. And, Steve remembered that and really liked the idea. So he approached me and said, I want to be a part of this too. So we kind of combined forces, and pretty much right off the bat, he had a friend down in Dominican, our friend Kerlin, and he had a connection to cigars and actually making them. So we went 0 to 100 real quick and started making our own cigars, started doing the social aspect, built a website, e-commerce, and yeah, it's been going pretty good. That started about 2020, 2021.
How the hell did we meet?
Oh, I slid into your DMs. You
slid into my DMs. Okay.
Yeah.
So
actually, let me say this. My buddy followed you, did all your content, And he reached out to me. His name Michael. He said, "Hey, Large smokes cigars. You should just reach out to him, see if you want to try your guys' cigars." And I said, "Yeah, all right, fine." I think I reached out and you replied real quick and said, "Yeah, I'll take some cigars."
Fuck yeah. So he sent me these cigars. I love them so much. So how I smoke cigars is my dad will have a cigar with me. My two brothers will have a cigar with me. My older son, who's about to turn 21, will have a cigar every now and again. My middle son, Finnegan, he'll have one with me, and he's been smoking with me since 15. Listen, I'm not telling you that you guys should start smoking at 15, but if you're a parent out there and you know that your kid's going to have some sort of vice, they are. They're going to have it. So I've always been in a situation where I've wanted my kids to be more comfortable around me and some sort of vice that I can get my arms around.
Yeah.
I can't get my arms around fentanyl. No matter how much Ian does it during the day, I can't get my arms around it. So Finnegan was one of those guys that just liked to hang out with the boys, liked to hang out with his grandfather and his uncles and his dad. He was 15 years old. He's 18 now. And where we would have certain boozes and whatnot that we would have with a cigar. If he knew that we were going to have one, he'd go out and get himself a special soda. I like something sweet with a cigar. Yeah. I've always liked something sweet with a cigar. So I told him that. So every now, I'll go get a black cherry. And I'll be like, I'll have a port. You know what I mean? Like, so it was just something that's kind of cool for me and him. It's one of my favorite things to do with my son. And it's just something that I find to be extremely relaxing. And then I meet Willie Colon when I'm doing Barstool Breakfast, and Willie can have cigars for breakfast. He was a big cigar guy. I started hanging out with Cons. Captain Cons on a golf course has 3 or 4 cigars. I am not that big of a cigar smoker, so I kind of go down the middle. So we're going to talk to you about how you can pick them, how you can light them, how you can do the whole goddamn thing. But Tom and I were thinking, there are people here at Barstool that are able to do ads for other people and sometimes get paid. Like that's what they do now. They have their own agents and shit like that. So you were like, yeah, maybe you can do one of those ads on social media or something for me. And I was like, oh, well, let's go down that road, see if something makes sense. But once we started, you got to try this. I was like, why don't we just put that bullshit away, have you come on, talk about cigars. Yeah. And I think that's, by the way, this isn't a paid ad. I should mention that because, it wouldn't be a ton of dough, but like, let's see how people respond to, smoking cigars and learning about the whole process. So let's talk about that process first. If you're going to have your first cigar and if somebody gives you something that is big and it looks like Shannon Sharp's dick, don't take it if that's your first cigar. There is nothing that's going to make you want to have another cigar when your first one was absolutely terrible. It's going to tear your lungs apart. It's going to tear your head apart. And the inside of your mouth is going to be like Paul Sorvino's taint. So if you want to start off with a nice light cigar, what do you think, Tom, is the perfect thing for people to look at when they step into a cigar store?
Yeah. I mean, the easiest wrapper and the easiest cigar to smoke is a Connecticut.
Okay.
Typically mild to medium at the very most.
Guys, you're going to hear Connecticut. You're going to be like, what the fuck is this? I got to get something from Cuba. Like that right away. When somebody says Connecticut, I'm like, ah, shit, this guy's from a No, it doesn't mean what you think it means, but go ahead.
A Connecticut wrapper. Yeah. So that's the cigar that, be a little more lighter brown on the style. It'll look more easier to smoke versus a, like Arj said, darker cigar. Yeah. And just the size of it. I would say Robusto is probably the most common smoke size, for cigar smokers. That's an easy size to kind of start on, and if you like it, and the biggest thing when you start is, it's not meant to be inhaled. So yes, you do not, if you're going to take it, and you're going to rip it like a cigarette or anything like that, you're going to have a very rough time. You're going to start spinning and you're not going to feel well. So yeah, that's one of my big,
I think that most people should know that. I am shocked how many people don't. They're like, no, my grandfather used to smoke cigars and he used to inhale them when he was at the track. And I'm like, I bet, because he started, smoking them in the Luftwaffe. Like, you know what I mean? Like he started smoking a long time ago. If you're just getting into this and you think that you can even tolerate it, I have no need to bring any smoke from a cigar anywhere beyond here. That's where the cigar experience begins here and it ends right here. And that's how it should be for you guys. This is a taste thing. The nicotine does get into you, so you do get a head rush, right? You certainly get that head rush that you get normally from nicotine. And it winds up being a great experience. And here's a little trick. If you hate your family And I know you don't hate your family. I don't hate my family either. But if you hate anything that you're at, I should say, and you bring a cigar with you, or 2 cigars with you, or 3, never more than 3, you could find your two favorite people at any event and say, hey, you want to go outside and smoke a cigar? Yep. And then you're 35, 40 minutes, not only away from the party, nobody will want to fuck with you for 35 and 40 minutes. So you can go out there and just kind of do your own thing, right?
Yeah, no, my mom gets very upset at our family gathering.
Yes, exactly.
My dad's got it all set up in the garage, and after dinner, after a couple drinks, he'll say, oh, let's have a cigar. And next thing you know, we're out there for an hour, 2 hours.
Yeah.
They're all in there with the kids still hanging out. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, we're supposed to hang out together as a family, But no, to your point, absolutely.
Tom, like I said, just flew in last night. He had come up to the office with his wife. By the way, he's a beautiful woman.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have pictures of her or something, or if she lost a bet. She's a fucking saint, but she is deep into her pregnancy. So I can just imagine that sometimes she goes to your family thing, gets stuck with your sister-in-law who you hate. I'm making all this shit up. And then you go out into the garage, start smoking cigars, and she's just in there sweating and waiting for a water to break. Oh, yeah. So tread carefully, but you can use a cigar as an out for places that you don't want to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as you're not smoking them in a car too, you're fine. If you decide that you get into this and you start smoking cigars and you decide to have one in your car, just know that no one's ever going to buy your car ever again.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay. I mean, what you mentioned sizes, Churchill's, right? What is what's the difference in sizes? So we're looking around. Well, I'm going to be doing this a lot today, which I typically don't do because I'm an Irishman, but it's one of those things where I think that you want to start small. It's like wine. If you're a kid who just turned 21 and said, hey, Large, I want to get into wine. What should I do? Yeah. People ask me that all the time. And I say, you got to find a grape. You got to find a grape that you like. So instead of going in and just looking at a bunch of different wines from across the board and saying, hey, should I grab this Cabernet? Should I grab this Syrah? Should I grab this Cabernet Franc? Should I grab a Grenache? Merlot looks good. Just because you see the label, find one of the grapes. Like a Cabernet is obviously a good starter grape. And you go and you buy 3 or 4 Cabernets and see if that's what you like. Then you buy a Syrah, maybe 2 or 3 Syrahs. That's my favorite grape. You see what you like, that type of thing, and build off it. I think we have a similar thing with cigars.
Oh, yeah.
Start with something that you think you might like. They're very, very transparent, cigar companies, with what the flavor profiles and whatnot of and the strengths are. Like, I know that on your website, you do say mild. You're going to get some light nutty notes and all that kind of stuff. Start small and then get bigger. Yeah. Is that something that you would recommend?
I totally agree. I mean, your palate's going to need that too, right? Your palate's going to start off, enjoying that. You're going to get comfortable with that lighter smoke or that Connecticut, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. And as you start to enjoy that and start liking that cigar, then you could start going into the Habano wrappers or maybe a little more medium style, and then kind of find your spot. Like, some people will stay with Connecticut's. They like the light ones, and they're not going to go up. But you can go as far as like a Maduro and go really bold, but definitely kind of gauge your level of strength of what you like and your size.
So the reason I brought Tom in is because his kung fu is strong. He knows about this shit, and I don't, but I really, really enjoy this shit. So let's go soup to nuts. Every cigar has a couple of things in common. The one that people tend to recognize, the first thing, is the band on the cigar. Yes. When do you take off the band on your cigars?
Me personally, I probably will smoke it down. I'll have my ash, and if I'm smoking this one specifically, I'll get it close to it, and then I'll start taking it down. I mean, it's really a personal preference. I mean, if you're down in a country like Dominican, you're not going to see a band really at all. Right. But it's something we do for branding, and everybody, in here, and obviously it makes the cigar really.
Did you see how he just bitched me there? He did just bitch me there. He was like, Large, you go to cigar stores, you get shit with bands. I go down to the Dominican and I get stuff that's fresh off the table. I mean, the guy's cutting it with a piece of whale bone. You ever see those knives they use that kind of look like that ulu type thing? So he's like, this guy's cutting fresh. I'm getting it. Oh, yeah. He did. He just... Subtle, but he did bitch me. By the way, if you're listening to this wherever you find your podcast, thank you so much. But I highly recommend that you watch this on YouTube, because we got a cornucopia of inappropriate lighters in front of us, and this room's going to get very smoky when we start doing this thing. I'm almost afraid to start, to be quite honest with you. I've never taken a band off a cigar before I started smoking it.
Yeah.
And I know that my son likes to get the band off right away.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not that easy. So if you're somebody that wants to take a band off, and if you want to keep the band nice, then light it first, because the heat from the cigar will loosen up the glue in the band and make it easier to take off. And the reason I mention that is because there's so many gimmicky things that you can buy in cigar stores. Cigar stores have cigars and then lighters and cutters, all these things that you can get that are, it's like golf. You can always find a different little golf gimmick to get somebody that plays golf. And most of the stuff that I get from my kids that are golf gimmicks wind up being thrown away. One of the gimmicks that I got, because I'm a cigar smoker, and I got it, I don't know, a year and a half ago or something, is this little piggy bank. Somebody gave me this clear plastic shaped like a cigar, Romeo and Juliet piggy bank, and it's for my cigar bands. So similar to how people save matchboxes from restaurants they've gone to, or sometimes save movie tickets or play tickets, or I don't know, VIP passes that I've been to all the fights, all the lanyards I have from the fights that I've covered. I have. This is one of the things that I do, and I think it's kind of cool. It's the only like little collection that I have, you know. So that's why I try to keep my bands intact, that way I can throw them in here. And as I'm looking through it, there is a shitload of NeverAshes in there, which is a good sign, right?
That's a great sign.
Yeah. So we're practicing what we preach here. What are we going to smoke today? Which one are you going to smoke? Which one am I going to smoke?
Yeah. So you're going to smoke your favorite.
My favorite, the Il Piccolo.
The Il Piccolo. So small cigar, figurado shape, Habano tip, Connecticut wrapper. A little spicier at the front, but then really mellows out in the belly of that cigar.
And it's a little spicier at the front because of the Habano tip, right?
Yes, yep.
So if you look at this cigar, and again, I apologize if you're not watching it on YouTube, so I'll try to be as descriptive as possible. This thing does have it tapered down at the bottom, so it gets much thinner at the bottom, slightly thinner up top. So there's taper up top with a darker colored tip. It's a smaller cigar. I would rather smoke 3 small cigars than a fucking paint roller. So I will take down a Piccolo or 2 and still not feel like I just got out of a smoky van. So this is my favorite cigar. It's got a mild flavor. It's got a mild flavor with just enough kick to let me know what I'm doing. Yep. Right? What are you going to be smoking? I'm
going to smoke our La Prima, which is a Connecticut wrapped Robusto size. We also have it in a Churchill. This is when I talk about the beginning, like cigar, if you're just starting off, this would be the one.
That's the one.
This is our lightest and most mild cigar. It's got the body, it's got flavor, obviously, but this is the one that you really could start with. So I really like it. It's our first one. This is our first blend, actually, that we decided to make cigars with. That's why it's La Prima in Italian is the first one. So that's what I'm going to smoke today.
Okay. So we have our cigars. This is step 1. So go to your cigar store, ask for whatever you want, or obviously buy from these guys. Again, it's not an ad, but these are the cigars that I happen to smoke. If people give me a DM and ask me what cigars I smoke, I send them these guys. And I've also been crushing on the Freud's, that other company. So there's no exclusivity here, but Tom was nice enough to come in and bring a shitload of cigars. And the only thing that I said, if I give these to people in the office, please don't give me anything too strong, because again, cigar smoking should never be heroic, right? If you want to start drinking wine and the first thing that you do is take the strongest fucking wine in the world and you don't let it, air out a little bit, then you're not going to want to go back and have another glass of wine. Same thing with cigars. You can't smoke a cigar until you cut it. There are many different ways to cut a cigar. 90% of the time, you'll get those plastic little cutters, those little guillotine cutters, and you'll get a straight cut across the bottom. But there are other ways to cut a cigar. You can do a V-cut and whatnot. So I have a cutter. I'm sure that this is extremely familiar to you.
Yes.
Is there something, what's the difference between me getting a straight cut on my cigar or a V-cut in the cigar? And a V-cut in the cigar will look like I just took a slice of cake off the bottom of it.
Yeah. So for that one specifically, since the cap's so small, that one's better for a straight cut.
Right.
The V just won't really work on that cap. The difference really, you got your straight cut, you got your V cut, and you got a punch cut.
Yeah.
Those are the most, I'd say, the three most common. Straight, you're going to get, a lot more draw.
By the way, did he just bitch me again? This is why I brought this guy in. He is the brains. And I mean this in a good way, Tom. I need to be, like Ian, all he does is yell at me all fucking day. But that's exactly it. I forgot about the punches. So the punches is just another thing where you kind of go in there and it leaves and then you pull out a little plug, a little round plug, and that's the vehicle that gets it to you. Please don't take that as I'm insulted by it. That's why I brought you here. You're my guy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be smarter after this, just like you are. So a V cut versus a straight cut, does it just control the amount of smoke that you're getting out of it?
Yeah, pretty much the draw. It also can control the flavor a little bit of the complexity. So like if the V, it'll come out kind of the V, it'll be smaller than the straight cut.
Right.
Same thing with that punch, right? So it's honestly, I think it comes down to obviously the cigar you have. So if you have like that, you should go straight. But if you have the ability, like a cigar, even like a Robusto or a Toro, where you can kind of pick and choose what you want, it's a personal preference. What do you like? The feeling of smoking, and how much smoke do you want? You want a lot more smoke? Go straight cut.
I cut a straight cut in this. So everything that this cigar has to offer is going to get into me as quickly as possible. I do tend to, unless I'm at a family function that I don't want to be at. I shouldn't say that. I love my family. If I'm at any function that I don't want to be at, then I'll go V cut, stretch that thing out a little bit, take my time.
That's kind of cool. Yeah,
but otherwise, you're kind of out there and you just want to throw one down. I sometimes smoke a smaller cigar, and my friend Artie had told me, he'd called my cigars this for the first time. He's like, "Oh yeah, dog walkers." I'm like, "What's that?" He's like, "A smaller cigar. It's perfect for when you go out to walk your dog. It takes about 20, 25 minutes. Chuck one of those in your mouth, put Fido on a leash, go for a couple of block walks. You're out of the house, so you're not smelling up the house and all that kind of stuff." And so they're called dog walkers. This Il Piccolo is a little bit bigger than a dog walker. It'll take a little bit more time. But if you're married and you're going to start smoking cigars, don't smoke anywhere near the fucking house, or else your wife, or if you're the wife, your husband will fucking kill you. I did a cigar tasting when I was in Wall Street. We rented out Acapella down in Jimmy Bogota Square. Tony Fantastico was the maitre d' there. We had a guy there rolling them. I had 4 cigars that night, and he made me hang my belt in the garage, much less I think I threw away my suit. You know what I mean? So we were there with like 70 drunken Wall Street guys, and we were smoking cigars like it was like we were extras in Scarface. So you have your cigar, you cut it. Go ahead, you cut yours right now. Another thing that you have to do with cigars is there is a little bit of upkeep. You don't have to run out and get yourself a $1,000 humidor. You just don't need to, because these humidor packs and the Ziploc bags work very well. Get yourself a shitload of these, and I'll show you what they are, because Tom was nice enough to put it in with the box. These things here are lifesavers, right?
Yeah,
because the cigar...
it's honestly, I'd recommend... Sorry, I'm going to cut you off.
No, please.
I'd recommend that, like, most of the time, like, that's sometimes the easiest way to even control a humidor too. If you have a Ziploc immunity bag, that's fine. You have those. It just makes it easy. Like, versus like trying to get the solution, trying to, do that. Buy something off Amazon that's got, humidity and temperature reading. Pop it in your humidor. Put the Bovedas in there, and they have so many different supplies you can get. To like, it's a magnet that goes on the back of your humidor actually. You kind of set it and forget it. So, that's what I use even for my humidor at home.
And Boveda is the company for that. So it's like him saying Bounty or Xerox, as opposed to Boveda is the one for these humidor packs that are made specifically for cigars. Because when a cigar dries out, there's no way to bring it back correctly, right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like, you can try. It's worth throwing in a humidor that's ready and let it sit for a month. Maybe it'll get back to a point where it can. But it could be tough.
Right. Yeah. And it won't be the same.
Trying and throwing it out.
Yeah. And smoking a cigar that's dry is not good. You have this brittle, almost acrid smoke off of it. Conversely, if you find yourself in the humidor and you get a cigar that's overly moist, overly humid, that becomes a tough draw.
Yes.
Like trying to do that, I use the terms, it's like sucking a tit through a sweater. It's one of those things that it's worth it, but it takes a lot more fucking work. So you don't want to get it too humid.
That's honestly something where that's where I draw the line. Like if I can't draw it and I'm overworking my neck muscles like that, there are some tools you can kind of use to kind of try and loosen it up.
Yeah.
Tobacco. But if I can't get it to that, I'll just stop.
Yeah.
It's not worth that amount of effort when you shouldn't have to do that. And sometimes that just happens to cigars. They're not all perfect.
Yeah.
Even the best brands, it just might be a little clogged. Or it might be a little, it just doesn't smoke well. It sucks, if you pay for that and you have to go through that. But yeah, it's sometimes not even worth it.
And I will tell you too, he talks about straining your muscles with it. It's no joke. I mentioned from the outset, you get a little head rush from a cigar, just like from any kind of tobacco product. But the rush that you get from smoking a cigar that's too moist is like the one you get when you have to blow up a kiddie pool. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like one of those things where you're just not getting enough oxygen to your fucking brain. Yes. Right? All right, let's light this thing. So people are sticklers with how they light cigars. Some people are like, I will not light my cigar ever off any kind of butane torch, they need to do it off of wooden matches. They think that lighters and whatnot affect the taste and flavor of cigar, and perhaps your palate will get there one day. My palate is not there. So I get so many goddamn lighters as gifts, and that's another thing. You get a cigar, look at this one. You know what I mean? So I have like guns. Wow. This is a naked lady bent over with a naked, and it's articulated. You can see the guy's dick, right? and sort of like that's what it does the whole time. I don't know who buys this. And the answer is me. So I have a bunch of very good lighters as well, but some people swear by the. You can still hear her moaning in the background, right? Which is perfect. You see the lighters as well. There's another way to light a cigar. Sometimes you will get a box of cigars and there'll be a small cedar split in it. And it just seems like the cedar split is something put into the box just to maybe preserve moisture or just to separate the rows. But that cedar split that comes with it, and sometimes the cigars come wrapped in it. Here's an example of it right here. You can use your torch, light the cedar split, and then get a very nice flame to light the cigar off of. If you do that with your first cigar, just know I will laugh at you because you're a fucking hardo. So let's just get a torch up here. Tom, grab a torch and light your cigar. How are you going to light this thing? I got a better idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to light my cigar. You let me know if I do a good job.
Okay.
I'm going to use one of these types of torches. One of my good friends, Claudia Trejos. Claudia Trejos is a genius in all things boxing. Everything you can do in the boxing world, Claudia has done in English and in Spanish. She's one of my heroes. I love her. Beautiful woman, by the way, too. And Claudia and I did a segment in Las Vegas where we just sat down. She was drinking scotch. I was drinking port. We were smoking cigars. She told me a story because she started smoking when she was 6 years old. I said, 6? Can we just move back a little bit? And why is that? She grew up in South America somewhere, and she used to work picking coffee or something. She was like in Colombia. So every day these kids would show up. They'd give them like burlap rucksacks, send them out into the fields, and these kids would have cheap, big cigars that they would take and blow at their ankles to keep the bugs off of them.
Nice.
And that's why she started smoking cigars. And, she's still smoking them now. She's around my age. She's a little younger than me. And I don't know, she's extraordinary. I'll try to dig up that footage because I think it'd be cool. So what I tend to do is I tend to prime it a little bit. Like I tend to just warm up the wrapper. I probably shouldn't do it with this one because the wrapper is so gorgeous, but I'm going to bring this flame up a little bit. I never put my cigar in the heart of the flame. Kind of keep it on the outside. Right? Now that's a good looking way to light a cigar. There are people in this company that light cigars. I don't like to use the word cringe, you know what I mean? But watching them watching them light and or hold a cigar just fucking makes me furious. Like when they light a cigar, it's sort of right in the thing and they roast the guy. I mean, honestly, it looks like they're trying to just destroy the guy. And then they hold it like this. You know what I mean? Like like in the pinchy fingers. And you know what I'm saying? You hold a fucking cigar like a man. In between two fingers, pointer finger kind of bends over a little bit. Aha, there we go. Right? It's the easiest thing in the world. Ian, be a fucking man and smoke a cigar like that. No, but honestly, like holding a cigarette and holding a cigar are two different things. And look at Tom. He blows on the tip a little bit. I had a girlfriend who used to do that too, blow on the tip a little bit. Used to drive me crazy. I apologize, Taylor. And he blows on the tip just to get the thing a little bit more lit. Like you can see when you put some oxygen on the tip, it'll start to glow. The ember will start to grow a little bit. Right away, Tom, let's talk about it. The name of the company is NeverAsh. How often should you ash your cigar?
You really, it's true. Like you really shouldn't.
You shouldn't. So here we go.
Yeah.
Don't be in a rush to knock the ash off a cigar. I am wearing black right now. I'm wearing black. I am going to a prize fight in Times Square tonight. I brought a change of a shirt because I know that I very rarely ash this cigar. So at some point, this ash is going to wind up on this shirt. But cigar smoking is an outdoor event. So if you can, get this thing as big as you can, because when you have, tell me why should we have a longer ash? And get that microphone up on you.
Yeah. Sorry. It really helps like the actual experience. So it'll burn cooler, and it'll help the flavor overall. So if you're going jamming it in there in the ashtray, or you're just ashing continuously, the ember just doesn't get a chance to like start to smoke and start to control. So the complexity, the flavor, the actual smoke itself will be influenced, if you're over ashing or if you're rushing it.
And it looks cooler when you have a longer ash, right? I mean,
it's never ash.
Yeah. And so when I first smoked my first cigar with Roan, and again, Ian, who does everything here, also does everything over at Roan.com. So he contractually obligates me to say something positive about Roan every goddamn thing. Roan is one of my favorite people, not only at Barstool, in the world. And we were in Vegas for a fight, and he was smoking a cigar with me and the thing. And he was like, give me some tips on it. And I said, let's see if we can get big ashes. And so he and I smoked them, and we went to see who before they finally. It almost becomes a game. It's a cigar type game.
We've
I
done
think so.
Competitions. It's a fun kind of. It's a fun thing. The only rules I really say with it, right? I say have fun with it. Just know your surroundings, right? Like if you're in a really really nice lounge or somewhere that somebody does not particularly want cigar ash on the ground, whatever, right? Just be careful with it. But I have plenty of bloopers. I have plenty of. Or I've ashed on myself. Like, obviously I'm trying to take the picture. I'm trying to get the long ash, that's part of the game, but that's really it. Otherwise, go where it's comfortable, but truthfully, inch and a half, you should let it go to at least that at the very minimum.
So that's your rule of thumb, inch and a half. I happen to have something on me, which is exactly an inch and a half. So I know exactly how long that is. Unfortunately, apologies, Annie. I just kind of enjoy it better when I see more of an ash, but people do get in a rush to get that thing off. I promise you that by the end of this little segment, myself and Tom, I will be covered in cigar ash, possibly, and I just don't care. It's a price that I pay and pay gladly. How about when you're smoking a cigar? Is there a time to it? Because people tell me if you're just smoking to get through this thing, you're doing more burning than you are smoking.
Yeah, no, I think so. This world right now is crazy in the sense of just how distracted we are, right? Everything, just everything thrown at us. This is one thing that actually can slow us down, brings people together. You talk with each other. It shouldn't be a race. It's not a sprint. It's every 30 seconds to a minute is a puff. It's very easy to continue.
And it's going to change with everybody. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
It's not set in stone. I'm just saying that, at the end of the day, these are, the cigars are really good to kind of calm down, settle down, like not rush it. That's all. Yeah.
And so if you have a cigar that would normally take you 45 minutes to smoke, an hour to smoke, and you're like, I got to get in the car and get out of here in the next 20 minutes. Instead of trying to suck through this thing as quickly as you can, get through a half of it casually, like your cigar. I can tell you right now, the speed of my voice has slowed down since I lit this cigar. Yeah. So you want to talk about something Pavlovian? I'm not large. Hey, what's up? It's coming. You got to go try this. This is Large smoking a cigar on his back fucking patio. You know what I mean? This is me saying, should we open up another bottle?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? This is me saying, like, is that grill on? Because I got the lamb chops. This is, you know what I mean?
It's a whole vibe.
It's one of those things where if you're going to be in a rush and you have a big cigar, right? Smoke half of it.
Sure.
And then just put it in a thing. Never smudge a cigar. Never smudge a cigar. When you're done with your cigar, put it in the ashtray and let it burn until it just burns out. It won't burn down to the nub. It'll naturally just burn out and it won't go all the way down. And you can revisit it, knock off the ash. You can actually even recut it up top if you were so inclined. You don't have to because you're going to be putting a lighter to it again. But you can come back to a cigar in a decent amount of time. Let's say I have half a cigar, put it in the thing, it goes out early. I go and perform an appendectomy. I come back afterwards and I want to do the other half a cigar. Is that kosher? Because I've done that a bunch of times.
Yeah, no, I mean, people do that. You can't, sometimes you don't smoke it all at once, or, you do a little bit before dinner and then you go have dinner or something. I mean, it all depends, right? But yeah, no, I would just say if you're waiting like multiple days or it really gets to a point, it might change flavor. It might change
a little bit. Cigars are made to be,
it's not, you don't have to throw it away. You might as well try it. If you got it, if it was good, and if it's not good, then you throw it out.
But then do you agree with,
you can keep it.
Do you agree with me then that smaller cigars are where it's at? Because I can do two of them. Go ahead.
No. Yeah, I agree. I do like Toro size, which is about 6 inches, 52 millimeter ring gauge. So that's about. Now I do not personally like there's some big ones that are like 6x60, so they're like even larger than that, like called Gordos. It's just not for me.
Gordo is Spanish for fat. I know that because people call me that when I walk by the bodega.
It's not for me personally. A lot of people do like them though. So yeah, I would agree with you in the sense, like I like even Corona size cigars, like a little even smaller millimeter, like 42, 5x42, perfect one. It's kind of similar to that.
What Tom is saying is, so you have a length of a cigar always, and then you also have the gauge. You have the ring on a cigar. And the same thing goes with anything else that you're trying. Figure out which one works best for you. Usually the ring size, it doesn't really matter to me, except when someone gives me a very thin one. I just don't like thin cigars. You know what I'm saying?
Like the Lancero ones?
Yeah, the Lancero.
Long, thin
ones. So the long, thin ones, you almost feel like you're smoking a pencil. You know what I mean? Because they're long. And they just, they don't, you see how I'm holding the cigar, everybody? Can you see that right there, YouTube? They kind of lend themselves to doing more of this. And we do this as we're putting it in, but it, when you're holding it like that, you feel like you're holding a drumstick.
And I think that's the fun thing about
I'm large, not Lars. I don't hold fucking drumstick. Go ahead. Sorry.
And I think that's the enjoyable, fun part about cigars is you get to navigate them as you get into them and find what you really like. As you said, you don't like Lanceros. There's a lot of people that do out there, but it's just the feel of it from the smoking experience and the holding of it. So, as you get into it, you'll find your comfort spot.
I just asked Ian if he wanted a cigar while Tom was going through it.
I asked him earlier too.
And he gave me the wave off. Ian, let me ask you something, because you know how much I honestly, I love you. Honestly, you're my fourth kid, but I can't stand your palate sometimes. And I can't stand your fucking palate. Tommy, we go to a steakhouse. What are you having? I'll have the ribeye. What would you like as a side? And we're in a steakhouse in Alabama. We weren't at whatever, Mastro's. Can I get a grilled cheese? So everyone else got a baked potato or, a meat and three type thing. He had a ribeye and a fucking grilled cheese. I don't know why that bothers me because it's actually kind of cool. But this grilled cheese that came out was nothing that was impressive at all. I mean, you could have made 10 grilled cheeses. I'm not saying at home. You could have made 10 grilled cheeses better than that if you were in fucking prison on an iron. You know what I'm saying? So
how do you get the steak cooked?
I get it medium at a place like that. If I'm at a fancy place, I've learned
Rocco's?
Like Rocco's. I've learned this from Big Cat. I'll go medium rare plus.
Ooh.
Please don't do medium rare plus. How much do you want to just go in the kitchen? I
blame Big Cat. Big Cat.
When you go to a place and you tell the guy, can I get a medium rare plus? Right? Or, a medium plus. Just tell him. You want it blue, you want it rare, you want it medium rare. Medium rare is a blessing to go between rare and medium. That's fucking rare plus.
Usually I'll go medium rare because I don't want to cause a scene at the dinner
Don't
table.
ever fucking say medium rare plus with me or Tom because we'll wipe you out.
When I'm with my family and I'm in the trust tree, I'll say medium rare plus.
That's fair.
Okay, and just so you know, the kitchen laughs at you. You came in last night, and again, there's no paid advertising here at all. Although coming in with a box of cigars for me and another box for Ian, that's respectful. And I appreciate that, Tommy. he had gone to Rocco's where we did the dry aging video. The dry aging video, did you catch that video?
I
at all?
did, yeah.
It's kind of fun.
I swear, honestly, I got to be honest, that's where I got my idea. I needed somewhere to go last night.
Yeah.
I just was flipping through Instagram. I saw you guys there. I'm like, if he's there,
Let's bang it out.
Shot. Yeah.
So he went to Rocco's and did that. What did you think of the dry aged steaks at Rocco's?
Fantastic. Porterhouse. And you know what was cool is I was actually able to explain to my wife how they were cooked because I watched the video of you doing it.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I know. And I kind of told her that did, but then I kind of looked like I was smart too. I was like, yeah, they got like an oven back there, a broiler. It's like 1,000 degrees.
1,200. Yeah.
And then they cook it in the oil at the end. But yeah, no, absolutely fantastic.
Did you guys, I'm breaking in whenever I want, Tommy, because it's my show.
Yeah, of
Did
course.
you notice how Tom went from smoking the cigar and once he got the ash to a point where he knows that it's at not a dangerous point at all, he goes from holding it like this to now holding it like this. And that's extremely acceptable. Now it's extremely acceptable to start holding it up and down like a fucking Olympic torch. He's treating it with the respect it deserves. He's smoking his. Can you put your cigar over by mine? He is definitely smoking his a little bit faster than I am just because I'm talking more. So he's got more of an ash on it. He's already got about 1.5 inches ash, right?
Yeah.
When you say?
Yeah.
He's nowhere near putting that thing into an ashtray. So that's one of the things that I want to pin. This wrapper, like I said, heating up, wrapper just fell off basically because the glue just comes loose. This is a double wrapped one, right? Because he doesn't trust me because I had HIV. So this is a double wrap one. So we have 2 of them that I'm going to throw in the bank in just a second, and one from Tommy too. I don't care who smokes them. I'll put them in the bank.
Yeah.
How do you feel about flavored cigars? When I go out in there, if I'm smoking a cigar with the boys, like my 2 sons, my wife will come out and she'll smoke a flavored cigar. She'll do something smaller, one of those chocolate, cherry cordial ones, vanilla, that type of thing. Is that something that you look at and you're like, it's disgusting? Or is it just different strokes for different folks?
Yeah, it's not for me personally. Yep. I just think once you kind of get into regular regular cigars, you get your natural flavors from your palate anyways. I'm not to say that and also that's very subjective. Everyone's palate different. So you might tell me, hey, you taste chocolate or taste that, which is actually an interesting point I want to bring up. How we get our palate taste, right?
Yes.
Obviously, and you probably notice a lot with the food aspect. A lot of people will refer to cigars as, some of their notes, cedar or earthy or whatever, stuff like that. Well, no one's chomping on wood, right? No one's eating a spoonful of dirt. It comes from the smell. So a lot of times when you're smoking and, some people are big on the retrohale, which is...
I can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in between. I'll do it. It does retract some senses up there, and you do get some different notes.
So the retro, what you call the retro inhale?
Retrohale. Yeah.
The retrohale. So what Tom is referring to is sometimes you can bring the smoke into your mouth, right? And then slowly let it out as you're breathing in through your nose, and you take that same recycled smoke in up through your nose and then back out again.
Yeah.
So you're getting it twice. I know a lot of people do that when they're smoking crack too, because you want to get as much off of every hit. So if you're a crack smoker who happens to be watching this also, who knew this was for you guys? So you don't have to alligator it into a balloon to save it for later or anything like that. Just try the retrohale. I'm not there yet, because every time I've had this nose broken way too many times because I'm a loudmouth.
Yeah.
So I just have a tough time doing that thing. But when somebody does it, like when Gilly does it, it's pretty fucking cool looking too, by the way. It's very, very cool looking.
Yeah. It's definitely a little bit of a power move if you're doing the retrohale. I don't know. Like I said, I really, at the beginning, didn't really do it a lot. And then a couple different cigars, I was kind of experimenting with it. And I've done it more recently. And I did notice, I do notice some different flavors I will get, through that versus just the regular smoke. But like I said, it's more it's your senses, your smell senses, right? That's why your palate's activating. Like, oh, that's an earthier cedar, right? So that's kind of that's how when we bring this back to you said flavor, that's where you really are getting your flavors from the cigars. Is kind of the natural terpenes or whatever in the tobacco leaves that are rolled that.
When Annie does smoke a cherry or something like that, it does smell cool. Yeah. It's not something that I would necessarily do. I have done a couple of them just to hang out with the bride, but it does smell very cool. I'm a big fan of smelling everything that goes in my mouth. So typically you have that bullshit thing with the wine where everyone gives it, and they don't really do it. I get in there. I try to breathe a little bit into the wine, try to get something off of it. Nothing from my fork goes straight in without me smelling it, because if you are just bypassing the most useful thing on your face for tasting anything is your fucking nose. Your tongue is secondary. You're going to pick up so many different things in your olfactory senses that you will not be able to touch in the limited taste buds that you have on your tongue. You have a shitload of taste buds. Don't come at me. But you know what I'm saying? If you want the full experience of anything, and that's from a cigar to anything in food to wine, to even a woman, you have to kind of, you know what I'm saying, E? Like there are certain women that are beautiful and I'm sure they're everything, but if there's any type of low tide involved, you know to fucking run away. Smells like cologne, leave it alone. That's what we go by. Look at this fucking ash on this guy. I feel like I got to catch up.
No, it's good. It's going. I'm trying to, I don't want to embarrass myself and ash all over myself.
I hope you do.
It's probably going to happen. So I'm just going to get out ahead of that right now.
Walk me through a draw. Walk me through one of your draws. Give me how you smoke a cigar specifically. Take a draw off that thing and let me watch it for a sec, Tommy. Right to it. Takes a pretty good draw. And then there's a little bit of a release before he kind of keeps it into his mouth. Right? And
yeah, just kind of like let it, taste it a little in the mouth and then,
how long do you keep it in?
A couple seconds.
Couple of seconds.
Just kind of like for the flavor, obviously no inhale, but I would say I'm pretty consistent with the draws themselves. What I do. There you go. Now we're talking.
Right. So I like to draw it in too. And when I do, I obviously have that blast of smoke that I let out. So there's a little bit of smoke that comes out every time you take a draw. Keep it in your mouth for a couple of seconds, like Tom was saying, let it go all over, every one of your taste buds, and then just let it out slowly. I like to kind of kick it out slowly. I do a pretty good smoke ring. Did you see that?
Yeah.
That's not a bad
video
one.
Like when you did, it was like last summer or something.
Yeah.
You were doing it. It was
just
like,
kind of hanging out in my backyard, kind of blowing smoke rings. I'm starting to turn into Gandalf. You know what I mean? I'm going to start creating
I don't
fucking
got the
ships.
smoke rings into that.
You don't got them?
You one-upped me there. Yeah.
Yeah, finally I one-upped you. How many can you do? Is it one of those things where even as a cigar guy, where a little bit of ash on me already, so even as a cigar guy, is there something where you're like, listen, guys, I mean, everyone says that, oh, what do you do for a living? I taste bourbon. People who start to taste bourbon and do all that stuff, it almost ruins the experience for them. Like, how many is your limit? Is there something, if you're on a bachelor party weekend, you can do 3 or 4, but if you're at a family function where everyone's outside and kind of ripping cigars, you'll do 2, or you a 1 cigar guy and put it away?
Oh man, I go in phases, to be honest. I can definitely go 2 in a night for sure. If we're before, actually, I would say, yeah, 1 to 2. I mean, like when, and then it's not to one up you, but when I was in the Dominican, we were.
If you're not one upping me, this is where you can one up me.
I know. We went all
I would
day.
take you to the fucking rack if we were on a basketball court. Ian, don't say anything, but I would. I would fucking dunk on this asshole. I will show you more about food than I think you'll ever know. I kind of have that. This is your shit, man. You're so, my expert. You're my guy.
No, I got you. So like when I was there, we probably did like 5 or 6 in a day, 7, because you smoke wherever you go, right?
Right.
So you wake up. You're in the car with the coffee, you're smoking on the way to the factory. You get to the factory, they're going to give you coffee, you're going to continue smoking in the factory. And they're bringing you samples like you're trying, Italian meats. Like they just put them out there. It's like, which one do you want? Which flavor do you want? What size do you want? I guess I'll try that, So you're trying all these cigars. Then you stop at that factory, you go to another factory, same concept, water, Gatorade, coffee, more cigars. You get back in the car. So we do all that all day, right? Go back to the hotel, change. Then we go to an awesome steak restaurant. And cigars in the restaurant, just light up right there.
Can I go on a trip with you for that? Can I do one of those things?
I think we should do it. Yeah.
I think that would be kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to run it by Dave, obviously, but I would like to get down to a place where I see where the sausage is made. And obviously I said, I have a cigar guy coming in from Chicago. People are like, where do you grow cigars around Chicago? It's the same thing. My favorite Syrah back in the day was out of Santa Barbara. I don't think the guy's selling them anymore. And he would just source Vice wines that I'm drinking right now. This guy Malik, and I'm going to have him come in with my man Jim at some point when I do a wine show. He just sources his grapes from the best places. Like they're kind of doing the work. He goes down there and, kind of checks out the product, does some sort of, I don't know, checks on it.
Yeah.
And then they put together what they think is the best blend to put inside one of these wrappers. Starting to get a little smoky in here. I like it.
It is.
Go ahead, Tommy.
So Yeah, it really, I mean, you smoke cigars up here, right, and everything. And when you go down there and you see the actual process of how it's made, all the people that are actually working on one cigar, when it's the leaves, starting in the fields, in the barns, hanging, selecting the different leaves, curing the leaves. And then you got, sorting the leaves, you got destemming the leaves. And then you're going into the rolling phase where you got, someone doing the filler and the binder. And then you got the wrap, the rollers that are putting on the wrapper, all of this work. I mean, it's like, I think they say about 200 people touch a cigar before you'll smoke it.
Really?
Like throughout the whole entire process. So,
I wouldn't have thought that, because a lot of people who go to and again,
touch parts of that cigar.
I'm back to cigar large voice. I'm going back to it. A lot of the golf tournaments that you go to that bring their roll, they'll have a roll. See, look at that. That's our first casualty, Ian. Put a pin in that one. No, that's what I want. I absolutely want it. And I got some paper towels around here if you need it. But when you go to it, it just seems like they have the one guy there with the leaf, the wrapper, and the whatnot, and they do it all in one go. So when it's mass producing, there's a little bit more to it. Or at least mass producing for guys like you, Yeah.
And I mean, it's just, exactly. And one thing I wanted to touch on that I was thinking about, knowing this is a food show, the different components of the cigar itself. Okay. So you got your outer layer of this is the wrapper, right? Mm-hmm. In that's one of the best leaves that is chosen from the crops. Smooth. It's very nice, looks good. And underneath that is the binder. That's going to be a little more stronger of a leaf, a grain, and that's going to keep everything inside together.
Okay.
Which is the filler. Now, the filler it could be lots of different types of tobacco leaves. It's also like, all of the things that you do to get the flavor of the cigar. So if you want to spice your cigar, you're going to add different types of tobacco that will aim towards that. If you want a more mild cigar, you're going to add more mild tobacco leaves.
Get up on that mic a little bit.
Oh, yeah. But the big thing to compare this that I was thinking about is it's kind of like Sunday sauce. Okay.
No, now you're talking my fucking language.
Sunday sauce, right? You got your tomatoes, San Marzano, your good quality. That's going to be like your wrapper. Okay.
Okay.
Your binder is going to be that onion, garlic, and oil. It's not, you can't make Sunday sauce without it.
Right.
It's going to hold all of those ingredients, right?
I like where you're going with
this. The
this.
filler of the cigar is all of the stuff inside of that Sunday sauce.
Okay.
So people do neck bones, meatballs, sausage,
brajol,
whatever, all that stuff. That's the actual filler, right? Mm-hmm. Now, we both know you can't dump a whole bottle of crushed red pep in that sauce. Ruins it.
Yeah.
Therefore, you can't, put a specific tobacco leaf that's super strong and make that all your filler, right?
Right.
So it's like really a master blender in a factory is very similar, to a chef. They're kind of mixing their leaves and their components to really, make a cigar.
Right.
So yeah, I was thinking about that.
Can you talk? For the show. Can you talk some shit about your company right now?
Yeah.
Can you tell people if there's a difference between? Listen, it's the easiest thing in the world. When I do the Barstool Classic, I remember one time Macanudo was in.
Yeah.
So they gave us red label and white labels, and people were asking me about them. I said, unlike what Thomas Smoking with Chaps have a red label on it, it doesn't matter. There is no color coding. But for that day, the red label was a little bit stronger, and the white label was a very light cigar. So whenever Rico was there with his dad, who I know from working on the floor of New York Stock Exchange. And I was like, the white one's a breakfast cigar. And then everyone's like, oh, that's cool. That's what they know. And everyone's like, oh, breakfast cigar? I'll take that. Because people who are a little reticent to have a cigar, when they hear it's a breakfast cigar and it's lighter, boom. And then the people who smoke cigars like, fuck that. Give me the red. So you can be as, just similar, like just two cigars. Here's our light and here's our dark. But NeverAsh hits for the whole spectrum. What's the strongest you make and what's the lightest you make? Yeah. The lightest in your hand and the strongest?
So we got 5 different cigars. So 5 different blends. Our lightest cigars are called La Prima and Il Piccolo. So Steve and I are Italian family. He's my uncle.
Uh-huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Steve's also got multiple businesses successful. He kind of had like the business mindset to this to put it in action. Anyway, so we rebranded a couple years ago just from like a cigar naming aspect. We did all Italian stuff. Also, our labels have like some Italian history. So Amazzano, church, which is a town in Italy that we're both from.
Okay.
Rome Colosseum, and then St. Peter's. So all inside of our labels and inside of our boxes. So if you look at that box,
right
that's
there.
what's in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So you brought us a box of again, my favorite cigar,
So
Il
the
Piccolo.
Piccolo is the short one in Italian.
Oh, is it?
It is. Yes.
Oh, man.
And that was actually Steve's idea. It was a great idea. So we got that one. That one's very unique. It's the size. You're not going to find that size out there. You're not going to find the fact that it's Connecticut and got Habano tip. It's just very unique and not your typical. Our standard Habano is our 815. We're from Frankfort, Illinois. So that's where that's from. And that's just Habano. It's in a Toro size, very standard. We also have a box pressed San Andres called La Notte, which is the night in Italian.
Mm-hmm.
That one goes really well, like in the evening with the bourbon after a nice strong meal. You got something in your stomach. You got a nice thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You rewind, need a little pick me up. Light the La Notte up, pour a bourbon, you're in a good spot. And then we also have our most recent cigar, which is Amici, and that's Friends in Italian. Well, that one is unique as well. That has a Cameroon wrapper, which isn't super common. Cameroon's a very, they say toothy, nutty type of flavored type wrapper. So not a ton of makers do it. So it's kind of like you like it or you don't. But we have that in a Toro size and Robusto. But man, it's got a little, when I talk about that like Ligero or that strong, it's got a Pennsylvania leaf, which is one of the strongest leaves you can add to a cigar. We have that in there. So it gives it a nice little spice, but it's also got a lot of smoothness and creaminess. So it's got the creaminess and the spice.
Right.
I think I saw one of those bands in there that you had. So we have 5.
I've smoked them all. So I've smoked your whole catalog. It's one of the last times I'll do it. What is it, like NeverAsh.com or something?
Yeah. We sell direct consumers, NeverAsh.com. We ship out in our bags and Boveda inside of them, so it stays fresh until it gets to your door.
If you're going to try, because of this show, and if you're going to try what I'm smoking, this is the one that I recommend. This is the Il Piccolo. Is there a food that you think pairs best with cigars? I never smoke and eat, except if I'm outside and I'm grilling meats. That's it. I'll have grilled meats, booze, something sweet to drink sometimes, and a cigar. It doesn't seem like someone is like, wine obviously has natural pairings, with different foods.
No, I don't. The one time I really did is when I was at that steak restaurant in Dominican, just smoking and eating. I don't really do that typically as well, but I think really what goes. But because it's just a big meal sometimes, just like a nice, if you're going to have a nice, hearty meal.
Right. And then afterwards,
you want to like unwind and kind of chill a little bit. Yeah. Then you light your cigar and you just, all right, here we go. Turn on some jazz music.
If the I don't know, the pacing of this podcast is relaxing you, mission accomplished. Because Ian, if you want me to get you a pillow, I will. This is exactly. When you get into cigars, did you ever smoke cigarettes? Were you a cigarette guy when you were younger?
No, not really.
I've never smoked a cigarette in my life.
Not really.
I've never smoked a full cigarette. Obviously, I've had puffs of cigarette. And believe me, I've smoked everything else. I don't want to talk about it. But I've never smoked a cigarette because I find cigarette smoke and cigarettes in general just to be foul. And my dad, growing up, he smoked cigarettes quick cold turkey, I think I was 10. So it's not like I had that around. And he never smoked cigars until he started smoking a couple of times with me. So it's not like but whenever I would go to like an uncle's house or to like my sister-in-law, Trish, if I would go by and like, there's something about an Italian guy smoking a cigar that just fucking makes sense. And then I was just down in Miami with my wife and kids. And I'm like, the Italians don't make as much sense because now I'm down here with the Cuban guys who are smoking it.
Right.
Like it just seems like it fits cultures. It's not a lot of Irish, and I'm a proud Irish guy, but you don't see a lot of cigar smoking over there. And look at this ash, by the way.
There you go.
This is starting to be where I want it to be.
That cigar really can make some ash.
Yeah, it does.
It starts like obviously narrow and gets more in the belly, so it opens up and it's just easily kind of builds. So
and this taper that they managed to pull off in the cigar is not easy because Willie at his Super Bowl parties gets ones made specifically where they kind of make it like a football. They do something on the outer wrapper where it has
that's
No, he gets it done right over here by the cigar guys.
Oh, they do it themselves. Okay.
Yeah, they may, and I will tell you right now, they fall apart. It is a science getting different sizes than the traditional cylindrical size.
Yeah.
What your shape, rather, not sizes, a cylindrical shape that you're smoking is easier to put together than this taper thing that you're giving me now. And so don't necessarily be like, oh shit, that looks cool because it looks like I'm smoking a torpedo. You go for the cylindrical ones unless you know that the cigar knows what they're doing, like you guys do with this cigar in particular.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's I think in that specific factory, there's only one roller that can do that cigar for us. They have quite a few, obviously, but he's the only one that specializes in that. So yeah, it's definitely a very unique size, and it's very difficult to roll.
Right.
Compared to something like this.
What do you drink when you smoke a cigar? You haven't had a drink of anything. We have my favorite flavor of Body Armor is that blackout berry. I was so fucking thrilled when you would grab that one out of the whole thing. You're like, oh, I'm going to grab one of these, grab the blackout berry.
The mark branding on it.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. But having something that's a little bit sweet like that, don't you feel like that does clean out your palate?
Yeah, it's kind of nice, and it also opens it up a little bit too. I know a lot of people that like pop. Different like Dr. Pepper, some cherry stuff.
Midwest, he's calling it pop. He doesn't realize he's in New York.
That's right.
Right? Yeah, make fun of the fucking Midwesterner. Yeah, I find that Coca-Cola, any kind of soda, is very, very good to have with a cigar.
You know what's also good about that is the sugar in that. If you're smoking a cigar and you don't have anything and you're getting really buzzed and nicotine, that sugar will actually help a little bit. It'll calm you down a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
It'll mellow you out. So like if you're in that situation, just set the cigar down, have a little pop, a little Coca-Cola, and you should be in a better spot.
What's the downside? What's the hangover that you get from a cigar? I have mine, but is there one that you get? Like, what's...
Yeah, I think it depends on how much you smoke. Like, I think I have so many people that'll be like, oh, I want to smoke this cigar, but I don't want to taste it tomorrow. And I asked them, well, how often do you smoke? I don't ever smoke. Maybe once a year. You're going to taste that cigar. And I think that's the most biggest complaint is waking up with that. Now, the quality of tobacco and the cigar that you are smoking, the lessen the next day of that actual taste. So if you don't smoke anything that's great or is rolled, whatever, and that's not a knock on anything out there. It's just how it goes. You're going to have more of a harsher taste. Your lungs might even feel like a little something. And then you wake up the next day, it's just, feel great. So from a hangover perspective from cigars, that's going to be it. You're going to want to always hydrate too, especially if you're slamming bourbons. You asked me what I do like to drink with it. I'm actually a wine guy. I do like wine. Cabernet and stuff like that. So I would go to that. This kind of throws my palate off a lot, but I do love Negronis. So sometimes, I'll mix that in, but that really kind of throws a wrench in the whole cigar.
Yeah.
But other than that, just like something sparkling. So like a nice, Pellegrino or something like that.
And that's one of the things you did ask if we had sparkling water here. We barely have running water here, much less fucking sparkling water. So I do think that bubbles help. I always think that bubbles help as a palate cleaner.
Well, and we talked about this the other day, but like, if you're not a main cigar smoker, you don't smoke a lot, and you're at a party and you're drinking and lots of drinks, whatever, then you light that cigar. Right. That seems to be what everyone wakes up the next day and says was the problem. They blame it on the cigar.
And that's what So by the way, I can't tell you how many times I've had that from somebody too. Large, I had that cigar with you. It killed me the next day. I'm like, wait a sec. Didn't we also have 4 martinis? I think we went large format. We did a magnum of red. We had a full Italian meal that would, kill the Godfather. And then I think the guy had like a Haitian hooker or something. But the cigar is the thing that fucking got him. And all I can say is it's undeniable that you will taste these somewhat in the morning. But my good friend Willie Colon was the first guy to tell me, Large, every morning after I have a cigar, or sometimes right after it, or sometimes during it, I always have some sort of fruit. He does berries. I think melon the next morning with a little bit of prosciutto. I squeeze a little bit of, So I think a little bit of melon the next morning is what just, it gives you a fresh set of downs. Cigar breath is obviously a problem with some people. I used to be an altar boy for way too long. I was never diddled or anything like that, but I wasn't a good looking kid. Maybe, I don't know. But Father O'Brien, he was the guy who had married my wife and I. We got married out in New Jersey, but he was my parish priest from Brooklyn, came out and did it. Father O'Brien used to smoke cigars all day, every day. So when we'd have to go up and hold the book in front of him while he was like preaching to the choir preaching to the congregation behind us, all you got was that stale cigar priest breath. and it was a tough road to hoe sometimes. You know what I mean? So, there are, brush your fucking teeth twice and you should be fine. Have a piece of melon and it will be. Have a greasy pork roll, egg and cheese, or Taylor ham, egg and cheese, depending on where you are. Ian, bust out your camera and take a picture of that so we can put that on social, because I'm loving what my Ash is doing right now with the NeverAsh guy. Look at the size of that thing. I don't get to say that often. So look at the size of that thing. So what else? What else can we talk about with cigars, Tom?
Choosing what you like.
You chew?
Components. Chew tobacco?
Do you chew?
I do not.
No?
No.
Have you ever thrown a plug in?
Oh yeah, I have. I remember vividly. Dave Matthews, freshman year of high school, threw in a mixed berry one or something like that. Was having fun for about 30 seconds, and then my night was ruined. I haven't gone back since then.
I thought that I might be a chew guy because I was freshman year in college, and a buddy of mine had it. He was from Texas, and he had it in a Ziploc bag. It wasn't a brand, and it was butterscotch. His grandfather used to send him venison jerky, and his dad used to send him his chew, and it was leaf chew. It wasn't like this, people popping zins and shit like that. Like you had to.
Right, yeah.
I put it in. Again, it was a butterscotch one, which is kind of interesting. Butterscotch and tobacco, but you're a freshman in high school. In college. I popped that, put a big old lipper in, and we're at a keg party. And I have this lip thing in, and as I'm drinking, what the hell is? I think we were drinking
Keystone Light?
Red Dog. Maybe remember Red Dog? That was a beer for a little while.
Yeah.
I forget what the fuck we were drinking. Awful beer. And every time I take a sip, inadvertently, some of that chew, right, instead of being able to spit it out, would go down the back of my throat. I can tell you right now, I shit a nickel that I swallowed in the 3rd grade the next day. I was 12 pounds fucking lighter, and I said, I will never fucking do this again.
Same experience. Yeah, it was just not for me.
Cigarettes, I don't do. Chew, I don't do. I'll pop a Lucy every now and again because I find them to be just an absolutely superior product to that Zyn thing. I just, they're fine to pop those in, particularly when I'm at a race. But other than an occasional Lucy, this is the only thing that I have that basically has nicotine in my life.
Yeah.
Is one of these. And I smoke one about maybe once a week. How many you smoke a week?
Well, I'll be honest.
On average.
About 4 to 5, I'd say. Maybe.
I thought you were going to say, I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes I don't smoke every week. You smoke 4 to 5 cigars a week is nice. That's a habit.
Yeah, roughly. I mean, I got a couple young kids, so they're
and another on the way.
Another one on the way.
Wife is glowing.
Excited about that. 100%. Excited about that. So yeah, I mean, it's I don't they're active now. They know when I'm there and I'm not. So
will you smoke
with them?
Yeah, like I said, when I get, so I'm much older.
When they're older, you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, not now. I mean, how old's your oldest?
I was like, my oldest 4.
4. Yeah. So
Jazz 4, Sunny 2.
Okay, so for the 4-year-old, in about a year when he turns 5, when he gets home from kindergarten, but somewhere in his teens, when we know that our kids are going to run and grab a vape pen or this or that, would you consider just bringing him into the fold with the rest of the Italian family? 16 years old?
Yeah, of course. I'll definitely introduce him. I want to be the first to explain it to him,
Yeah.
Not have that, crazy first cigar experience, which usually people shut down after that.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. You ask people that, I had a cigar one time and, oh man, I never tried it again. And that's usually what happens. And actually Ian said that. And another thing I'd say is when you're younger, that's a good time to warm up. You're still not going to truly appreciate it, and your palate's not ready yet in that sense. You'll really start appreciating, I think, in the early. There you go.
There it goes. That's a good thing. We just took that picture, and bam, my ass just fell off naturally.
That's what happens.
And I'm 100% okay with that. So I'm going to have so as I'm getting towards the end, not to the end, but I'm beyond the halfway point with the cigar. I would have had to have taken the band off already if I didn't earlier, and so my draw is going to get hotter as it gets closer to the end of the cigar. You know that you're closer to the heating element, so it's going to get hotter. Your draw, what you're bringing in, is going to be physically hotter. It's going to be a little bit spicier too on your tongue because of the heat. And now it's going to be even more so because my ash is gone. I'm going to build up at least another 1 ash before this thing gets to the bottom. How far down do you smoke it? And before you answer, I mentioned that our good friend Captain Cons, who went to Rocco's with us last week and was nice enough to do the episode with us. I call it smoking it down to the Cons because I've never seen someone do this. Cons I consider him a gentleman. Cons dresses the way that you should to everything. I think Cons has probably got some of the best manners of certainly anyone in Barstool, but even beyond. He's tight, and it's because he went to West Point, and the guy's just a natural gentleman. Cons smokes a cigar like a fucking crackhead. Like he cannot get enough of this thing. So when everyone else says they get down to whatever and they throw their cigar away, Cons smokes it to where he needs a roach clip. And that's smoking it down to the Cons. So whenever I take a NeverAsh or anything that I'm smoking and I bring it down, you see me post that on social media, it's named after Conor Crean. How far down will you go on that thing?
I mean, from a visual perspective, probably around here, maybe about an inch towards the end.
Okay.
I mean, it's a personal preference. So, I mean, if you can handle that heat down there and it's going to taste a little different, like you said.
Yeah.
So if you can handle that and you still like it and you want to go as long as you want. But, yeah, I'll probably go to there because then when the flavor really starts to change like that, it's kind of a different smoking experience for me. So it's about like, maybe a half inch, left.
Another benefit that I think about, so kids, there are a lot of non-benefits of smoking cigars. Obviously, the lung cancer part that you get from smoking, obviously cigar smokers, they get some problems within their mouths. Like you can get some degrees of lip cancer, tongue cancer, that type of thing. Yeah. There's always a risk of that. So I am not recommending that kids do it. I joke around with Tom about having it with his 5-year-old, just because I know Italians are a little bit different. But honestly, it's one of those things that you do have to do in moderation. But I don't like to have my mouth on fire with this thing. So I honestly feel like it gets less and less healthy as we get to the end. So when I'm with Cons, I will go down as far as I can. But otherwise, particularly with this Piccolo, and how long have I had this thing lit now? 20, 25 minutes maybe? Something like that?
Yeah.
I'm starting to get to, and that means that I'm having a perfect cigar experience. But a benefit that I just thought of is if you're smoking cigars with somebody that you don't like, they can't talk too much. Like you're smoking a cigar quicker than me because they're constantly. So we have a couple of people that we know we don't like talking to. Put a fucking cigar in their mouth when they're out there too. So if you're escaping from, you're at your wife's family and all of a sudden one of her uncles who you fucking hate, this guy who's a little wannabe gangster guy or someone coming, hey, let me get a cigar. You put it in his fucking mouth and he could shut up. For
another thing too is always pack your cigar bag with your favorite that you like. If you're going to a social event or a function, and then have a few in there that aren't
a couple of cheapos,
the best. And, someone's, it's like a flock of seagulls when you pull out the cigar bag and people don't have it, especially when they've had a few drinks. They're like, oh, I want one. Let me get one.
Yes.
So you got to have those extra ones in there that aren't that great. And you're like, you could have, they'll try this one. It's a good one, man. They don't know the difference. They have no idea. They're going to smoke a third of it, if that, and then you're going to see it at the end of the night, like.
And that pisses me off.
That's why you got to be. That's why you give it to them, not because you don't like the guy and you want to give him something bad. It's because they're probably not going to smoke.
Piccolo, how much would that cost if I bought this in a store? One cigar
in a store.
No, online. If I buy this at NeverAsh.com, I get a single cigar, just a single Piccolo. What would one of these be?
We don't do
you
like
can't sell them one by one. Yeah.
So we do the variety pack that gives one of all of our cigars. Great way to start. The sampler pack, one of each. It's 5 cigars total. It gives all the blends. You pick what you like, and then you kind of dive into either a 5-pack, 10-pack, or a box.
That is the perfect way if you're doing it by yourself. Get the sampler, and then go through all of them. Or get 2 of them. So you and your buddy can do them together.
Well, we have the variety pack for that.
Right. It comes with
10, and that has so it'll have our Amici and our La Prima are both in 2 different sizes.
Right.
So you'll get both sizes in that, and then you'll get 2 of the old Piccolos, 2 815s, and 2 La Nottes. So it's 10. So that's a good I know people are like, oh, I'm going to a golf outing or I'm going to a trip. I want to bring cigars. Just get the variety pack. It's plenty. And you brought 10. Someone else should bring some. 10 is plenty to bring. You might have 1, you might have 2. Everyone else gets to try them. So
I would say that if I go into a cigar store, and as much as I say go online and try it out, once you get to a spot where you're comfortable with it and you're not embarrassing yourself or others, hit a cigar store and you'll see the prices. Like there are $100 cigars out there, and I've smoked a couple of them, and I can tell you Some of them are fantastic, but you can get fantastic for a lot less than that. And someone's like, $100 cigars, large. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah,
I don't pay $100 for my cigars. I pay, whenever I put a cigar up, I'm usually somewhere between $10 and $20 a cigar. That's because it's something that I like to do. You can go cheaper than that. But if I go and I'm lighting a $12 cigar and you said, no, I just brought a bunch of them and I see that you got a bunch of fucking, not Black and Milds or anything like that, but you go to and you get some cheap ones, I can guarantee you I'm going to have a better experience than you. I don't think that you need to pay up for a bottle of wine when you first start beyond maybe $35. That should be probably your threshold. And you know that that's not very expensive for wines, right? But when you're starting off, spend $35. Don't go get the rot gut stuff. $2 chuck or all that shit. That's fine as a joke. Kind of stay there.
Same thing with cigars too.
And it's the same fucking thing with cigars. If you get yourself a nice little
10
cigar,
to 20.
paying anywhere below $20, you're going around that 15 maybe bogey.
Yeah.
I think that you're going to have a better experience. And when you're paying for it, you're going to smoke this thing down to the fucking. Maybe that's why Cons does it, because he's inherently cheap. I think I just figured it out.
Maybe.
Cons is inherently cheap, so he's doing it. So what am I going to do in my cigar journey? What do I need to, like, is there some sort of cigar experience that I'm missing out on, that you've had a cigar with a specific type of wrapper, with a specific type of drink that you would recommend for me, somebody that's been smoking cigars now for, Jesus, I've been smoking for about 25, 30 years. Like, is there something that you would say, Large, this is where you need to step up to?
Well, it would start with Brugal Leyenda rum, which is a Dominican rum that is just...
This is exactly what I wanted.
Honestly,
Tom. This is the answer. Give it to me. What's that rum again?
Brugal Leyenda rum. Sadly, it's only sold in the Dominican. But
he's inviting me to the Dominican.
Got some people,
that's what you're doing.
We might have to do some.
Oh, really?
Well, if we have some people go down there, I'll have to get some up here, and we'll figure something out. But that is you asked me what I like to pair.
Right.
Hands down, the best thing. It has like a bourbon consistency in the sense of the texture, but it has a sweet taste at the end, just a little bit, and you can just drink it. I want to say the alcohol content itself is still around the bourbon area, maybe a little less, but just absolutely fantastic. And really? I would go a medium type cigar, so either Habano, San Andres, even a Cameroon wrapper, or Amici, something along those lines with that. And oh man, it is fantastic. Now, first, if you're asking me for like a specific type of cigar, that's what I'm going to say.
You just gave me that perfect answer, because I'm always looking for different experiences. The first time I went to a wine tasting, I can tell you right now, there was this big, beautiful black lesbian kind of wine expert, right? Big time onophile. And she had given us, I don't even know what the grape was, but it was a big grape. And we did it with a ginger snap, smeared with Cashel blue cheese. Oof. And so a ginger snap is a big cookie already. Like, it has a spiciness and a sweetness to it, smeared with blue cheese with that funk. And then I had it with like a big, bold fucking Syrah or something like that. And I still do it. So like, if you're telling me that this rum that I can't get, now I'm going to go and get it. I'm gonna send somebody over there in a parachute. And I think that that's the experience. And
I mentioned those types of cigars. You can pair it with that, and you'd be very happy.
Right.
Yeah. It's just something very unique and different that. Yeah, you gotta do it.
Every episode we do a little history thing, because I also do the Twisted History podcast.
Phil is very happy that it's back out.
Yeah, thank you so much, Phil. Shout out, Phil. So we just dropped one last week, called Twisted History. I think John had titled it like Myths and something, but it's basically a twisted history of incorrect history. I think so many people learn stuff in history books that's just not true, right? Paul Revere never said the British are coming. Rosa Parks never went to the front of the bus. She went to the front part of the black section. Like, little things about history that we're not taught, maybe because it simplifies it, maybe because we're looking at stuff through the American lens. People don't know how bad the Eastern Front in World War II was, because all we hear about is the Western Front, where we fought in. Where meanwhile, Hitler would have never been defeated if it wasn't for the Russians. and they were some evil bastards too. So with the start of the Cold War, we couldn't pump up that Stalin did a great job because he did it through gulags and all that kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So history always has some degree of bias. And so Ian and I try and throw together some sort of history tidbit that has to do with food and whatnot every week. I kind of think that it's a nice little part for people who like history and like this thing that we're doing. So I save the history part for when you hear.
Okay.
Jay, so when you think of cigars and presidents, there might be guys, I think when I think of cigars and politicians, I think of Winston Churchill.
Oh,
I think of Winston
hands
Churchill
down.
because they named the size of the cigar after him.
He just was always smoking a cigar.
I was telling you about how I smoked these Freuds. You know, Sigmund Freud actually smoked cigars until basically his jaw just fell off.
Yeah.
Like Sigmund Freud was, you know, he talks about that whole phallic thing, but he had things that looked like smoking dicks in his mouth way too much, so much that he went. So those guys are kind of synonymous with cigars. But JFK was a big cigar smoker.
Yeah.
JFK was our 35th president. You may remember him because he decided to put the top down in Dallas. He was a huge cigar enthusiast. And I think this is salient because we have all these tariffs and taxes and whatnot, you know, with the recent administration that's coming through, which makes people angry, makes people happy. I don't care how you feel about it. It's what's happening. So similarly, back then, Cuba. So JFK smoked Cuban cigars at a time where we no longer wanted to fuck with Cuba. So I'm going to say he was an avid smoker of Petit Upmanns, and one day he ordered his press secretary, Pierre Salinger, to round up 1,000 of his favorite cigars, and he said, get it to me in the next 24 hours. 1,000 of his favorite Cubans. And so Pierre Salinger, it was very short notice, but Pierre Salinger went and he got him. And the reason is that JFK was in the process of signing an embargo that would prevent any products from Cuba entering the United States. And this embargo would include his favorite cigar. So Salinger was able to, I think, acquire 1,200 of his favorite Cubans. And as soon as JFK got him into his fucking humidor, he went and he signed the embargo from Cuba, and nobody else was able to get them legally after that. But JFK had plenty of smokes for that post-coital moment after he, gave the back shots to Marilyn Monroe, whatever the fuck the guy was doing. But that's a cool little history tidbit for cigar lovers like yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't really changed since then. We haven't been able to get them.
No, and that's the whole thing. It's still that way. You cannot get them. So is there a huge premium from the Cuban cigars? Is there something there that we've all had them? Or you've been told you had them, by the way. The fact that someone's like, oh, I got some Cubans. When somebody says, oh, I got a good Cuban for you, 9 times out of 10, they're not a Cuban. Right? Is that correct?
I would probably say that. I mean, and the people that do have them, they're going to tell you exactly how they got them and why they are 100% Cubans. And there's the people out there that only smoke Cubans. I mean, they're fantastic cigars. They're great. Obviously, there's nothing against them. They grow a little differently than, they do in the Dominican or Honduras or Nicaragua. They have different complexity and flavor based on their soil and all that. I think, the thing is, though, is I think the other countries, has caught up. Cuba really hasn't, expanded on what they do. They just have that. But now the Dominican and the way they process things, the way they do things and who they have rolling, I mean, the quality and the construction of their cigars and what they're putting in them is just, you can get the same type of smoke, from a Dominican, Nicaraguan type cigar. And I think the allure just of not being able to have something is what people will always want.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a sucker for Cohiba. That brand is fantastic. Yes. It looks beautiful. The beehive, I mean, just a beautiful one. But they're really expensive. And I don't know if you knew this, but the label rule now, like in Canada, I was in Ireland last year in Dublin for a wedding, and you have to now, all the cigars and cigar shops out there, they have to have a brown label on top of it, and it's just the name of the cigar in white font, and there's no branding. Underneath it, the manufacturer is allowed to keep their label, but it looks like the plainest thing in the world.
Oh, like you get it from the Price Club.
You're looking at a humidor
Yeah.
without the labels. It's like, what the heck? No, I don't know if I want that. Like,
Yeah.
And that on top of, just the prices of them, you're going to pay $50, $60 easy for a Robusto, Cuban out there, depending on the type of, which one it is, which brand, specifically Cuban. But yeah, so I think they're, I've had some, they're fantastic cigars, but, I think, just don't say I only smoke them or I only try them or be that person, be open to obviously everything. And obviously you can't really get them easily in America. So,
yeah. Cigar bars are great. Go into a cigar bar, you get your, you walk into their humidor, you pick out one. We were down to like a Rocky Patel one, and you have a really good experience. Your full menu and all that stuff of booze to pair with it, and it's a good thing. But don't sleep on cigar stores once you kind of know what you want. There's one that's on Route 17 South in maybe like Ramsey, New Jersey. It's north of me. So I go to Uncle Giuseppe's every now and again. I load up on whatever I need. And then I come back around to Cigar World. You go in there, I'll buy a couple of cigars, then I'll get a dog walker, and I'll go into their back room because 9 times out of 10, old school cigar shops always have their own lounge built in.
Yeah.
I don't know whether or not they're legal or not, because I think sometimes, whatever, it doesn't matter. So I'll go in there, and the first time I took my son, again, he was 15. I said, Finn, try to look 21. And so we go in there, and we get a couple of cigars and a couple of short ones. We go back into the to their back room, very well ventilated, all leather chairs, a couple of flat screen TVs up, and just ashtrays. And you can kind of sit there and have a good one, and then go home and feel, no guilt about it, right?
Yeah.
If you can't smoke at the house, you can smoke at the cigar shop, kind of get away with the boys and watch stuff. Finnegan sits down though, and I was like, Finn, just be kind of low key and whatnot. The people are very, very nice there. And as the guy was walking by, he said, hey, can I get a cappuccino? I said, Finn, who the fuck are you? So even that gets kids. So, because he saw like a sign on the thing, handwritten sign, $5 cappuccinos or something, because they have a Keurig in the back or some shit like that.
Yeah.
So they'll do that for their customers, And it's like a couple of Italian sandwich places that I used to go to in Jersey City used to have a jug of the homemade wine. Yep. So like they give you a little paper cup of wine. It's always just like a gentlemanly thing. And there aren't a lot of gentlemanly things left. So that's my pitch. I'm going to wrap up. It's not anything. It's not for everybody. But if you're going to have a cigar, do it the right way. Take your time. Make it more of an experience. Make it something that you're going to enjoy. Just like your favorite drink. If somebody's going to go through, jump through all these hoops to be, get the smoking thing for their Manhattan and import all this kind of stuff. You don't go and get a drink like that and pound it back like a shot. And the same thing, you get a cigar, you get a good one, and you're not trying to suck that thing down like it's a fucking cigarette before you got to go back to work on a 5-minute break. And it's just going to make you a gentleman. Right? Yeah. Is that easy to say?
Yeah. Get a good cigar, find your price point, find what you like, get a good friend, throw on some music, jazz, whatever you like. A nice little drink.
He says jazz. You see what he's doing? He's trying to class himself up.
I like that.
But no, you don't fucking like jazz. You put on
Bronner?
You put on like fucking Louis Prima albums or something like that. You know what I mean? La luna mezza mala, mamma mia malada, right?
I love Sinatra.
Yeah, and look at that. I just lost the ash again. I haven't really lost it, but it's starting to come. So that's going to be you. So before we leave, I just want to tell you again, this guy flew out from Illinois to come and do this show. So I can't thank you enough because it's something that I enjoy. And obviously we appreciate you coming out, and I can't let you go without mentioning again, how do we get the NeverAshes? I'm saying get the Il Piccolo, but how would you go? I think a sampler pack probably is the way to go. How would you go about getting it one more time?
Yeah. So just our website, www.neverash.com. We're on Instagram at NeverAsh Cigars. We're trying to do the content game, keep up with guys like Large like that.
Yeah.
But, and we have multiple options, and obviously it's just me and Steve that run the company. So if you reach out to our Instagram page, we do have a social guy, Adam, that's been helping us out. But
does a nice job.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. Steve's
Steve is forward facing. Like Steve likes to have fun with it too.
I don't. And he's been awesome. He's been doing a lot of that lately. So So he's been crushing it. So
Yeah,
they've been
great.
working on it really well. But yeah, NeverAsh.com. You can get the sampler, you get the variety pack, and then once you kind of know what you like, you can go 5, 10, or a box. We always run deals too around holiday stuff, so stuff like that. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, if you have any questions, hit us up on Instagram or Tom@NeverAsh.com.
That's the difference. If you go and you buy from one of these big companies, and there's nothing wrong with these big companies, they make fine cigars, and maybe because of the volume they make, they could come in a little cheaper, but usually not. This is like buying it not from a mom and pop, but from a place that's just simply capable, simply has some degree of customer service. I can guarantee that if you have a problem with NeverAsh, because every 30 cigars, they put a razor blade in. I don't know why they do that. I don't know why they do it. They just try to, or a hypodermic needle in there. But if you have a problem with NeverAsh, you're not going to call there, and it's not going to say dial 1 for, Spanish, Lithuanian, or whatever. And then they put you on to their AI person. Can I help you on a group chat or something like that? You talk to people and they handle you like a gentleman.
No, literally, Tom@NeverAsh.com. I mean, we do weddings too. So if you got a big wedding coming up, hit us up. We'll hit you. We'll hook you up.
Tell you what, if you got a big divorce coming up,
yeah, you might.
You know what I mean?
You might need
a couple of cigars.
We go both ways.
I would rather at this point in my life to be invited to a divorce party than to anybody's fucking wedding. We're gonna wrap up the whole episode right now and tell you you got to try this. So we had NeverAsh in here to talk about cigars. We'll do something again down the road, obviously, because my love for cigars isn't going to go away. But if you like what you're seeing on this podcast, please like and subscribe on any platform that you're watching it or listening to it. And again, drop in a question through the Spotify, Apple, YouTube, anywhere where you're rating it. If you drop off a question inside your 5-star review, we'll try to get to it and we'll answer it here on the show. And if you don't, then we just will stop doing this thing. But I'm always going to be smoking cigars. So on behalf of myself and Ian, thank you very much for tuning in. And Tom, thank you so much. I mean, the guy brought his pregnant wife out. He was like, you know what, let's just go see New York before our life is ended and we have 3 kids. I know what I'm talking about here. My life was ended.
No, we're having a good time.
Yeah.
Then today it was great.
It's a beautiful day to be in New York.
Fantastic. Went to Central Park, coffee, got a nice bagel.
Yeah.
Going to Patsy's tonight. Yeah, we're having a good time. So I really appreciate you guys having us out. I appreciate your friendship really since day one and just being cool about everything and, liking our cigars and supporting us. And like we said, it's never been an ad. It's just been because you like our cigars and we became friends. So thank you very much.
Fucking weird. So right where I am with this cigar and why I'm going to, so that's probably where I would be done with this cigar. So it's perfect timing. Yep. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you next week on You Got to Try This.